Hi there. Morning. It's 10:37. May 23rd. And I'm a little bit late this morning because of Masterton's rush hour Sunday morning traffic. I think everyone was going to church at the same time. But in the studio today we've got Piers Fuller, who works for Stuff, and I used to work with at the now sadly closed Wairarapa News. And he's on B. Hey, Piers.
Hey guys, how are you? Good to be here. Thanks for inviting me earlier.
Yeah, maybe just put the mic a little bit further forward away from you. It sort of picks it up pretty well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so you've actually got a busy day on your ahead of you, haven't you, Piers?
I've got a bit on. I'm going down to Wharikoho, which is always a treat. They're having a bit of a meal, inviting some people that they know to come along for a nice lunch and talk about or hear about what they're doing at the moment. It's always moving forward down there, so we're pretty lucky to have that place.
That's the sort of Flash Lodge place.
Yeah. It's kind of.
I think I did a story on it on Christmas for Eric.
Yeah,
at the Dominion. It got on the Dominion too, which was good.
Yeah, well, people like those lifestyles of rich and famous type stories.
That's definitely what it was. Yeah, they sort of let me into one area, but they were sort of keeping it under wraps. They didn't really show me around too much, which you can understand because people pay for that sort of privilege to have a look around there, don't they?
Yeah, well, it's probably $1,000 to $2,000 a night, depending on where you're staying in the lodge. So it's pretty boutique and high end. So we'll get to meet the chef and the new chef and stuff today. So talk about what they've been doing since lockdown.
Yeah. Oh, so they're going to make you a meal, are they?
Yeah, and I'm taking
nice.
I'm taking the whole family down.
Oh,
so
yeah. Oh, that's cool.
It's going to be quite cool.
Yeah, that is cool. Oh, yeah, and so and what else has been happening? So Stuff's under new ownership, and you found that refreshing?
Yeah, it has been refreshing actually. I have to say, in the last year or so, and it's been almost exactly a year since we were sold for $1 to our CEO Sinead Boucher. Things have changed a lot. There's a lot more certainty, a lot more enthusiasm for what we do. We are Kiwi owned now, and we're basically owned by one person, and we're there for New Zealand. We always have been, but now we can proudly say that we are a New Zealand company, and that's where our interests lie.
Yeah, I suppose it's taken a bit of the. And I know that there was a lot of sort of the feeling of the axe hanging over the company for a few years, and that's been alleviated now. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I've been working for Stuff for 15 years now, and it's just been one thing after another in the modern media world where cuts here, cuts there, and Illya, you were a victim of those when they unceremoniously closed the Wairarapa News, which had been around for 120 years, and it was very unfortunate that happened. But media has been evolving so quickly, and one of my other colleagues who actually shares this building now, the editor Walt Dixon, was there for 17 years, and when they dissolved that position. So I almost feel like I'm the last man standing for Stuff in the Wairarapa. Yeah,
well, I suppose you. But I mean, the company's going all right again now.
Yeah, it's going well now. Here's an indication. Exactly a year ago, we were told that we might have 2 weeks to go, and the whole lot would be shut down by the owner Stuff.
Yeah,
that's when things happened very quickly in the background. We didn't know really what was going on. And that's when that sale was made. So Nine in Australia offloaded us, and then it was very tight because all of the advertising dropped away in lockdown, and all the media companies in New Zealand were pleading poverty. They asked staff members to take pay cuts and all that kind of stuff. But as an indication of how well we've done since then, those pay cuts were paid back. Staff got a bonus, the first bonus I've ever had in 15 years working for the company at Christmas time, and there hasn't been any layoffs. So I think it's a pretty good indication that there is a pretty good stability there.
Yeah, that is good. So that means a bit of the money was probably still being funneled out to Aussie then.
Yeah, it's really hard to tell, I mean, we were kind of this autonomous unit that was stuck on the side of this media giant in Australia, and they didn't want us because we didn't fit into their kind of scheme of things. And media companies which have a big stake in newspapers were not attractive to buyers, and so we were hanging on the sales line for a couple of years there. So it's actually, we're in a much better place now.
Yeah, cool, man. So, well, going back a few years, how did you get into journalism in the first place?
Well, yeah, thanks for asking. I was over in Taiwan. I worked and lived in Taiwan for several years, which I loved. A fantastic little country. And so I was teaching English over there. And it was, I wasn't even a qualified English teacher. I had a certificate in teaching English to adults, and I used that to get me around the world. But my mum was thinking, oh yeah, well, you've always talked about being a journalist. Here's a course that you could sign up to. So I looked into it, and I did the interview, and I got accepted, and that's a journalism course in Wellington, and it was an amazing jump into the industry because right from the get-go, you're writing, you're publishing, you're doing photos, and we had to publish 50.
Was that the Massey one?
Massey,
oh,
Wellington.
Yeah, cool.
So it was a year in Wellington in 2002. Then I went back to Taiwan for a year, and then I came back here to New Zealand, and it's basically settled down, met my wife, bought a house, had kids. So I've been very settled here in the Wairarapa since, and I worked for the majority of the time. I first started at Times Age, which is a great...
when you were there in 2002, I think that was around the time one of my friends, Juliet McVeigh, was there. You didn't meet her at all.
In Taiwan?
No, at the journalism school.
Oh, Juliet. No.
She might have been maybe a year before.
Yeah, no, I didn't meet her, but there are still those names from journo school.
Are there people that sort of you've seen through the years?
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, that's cool.
They pop up, and some of them are still working for stuff.
Yeah.
So, it's not that big a circle when you look at it in New Zealand, and it's a very interesting industry to be in because your bread and butter is finding interesting things to write about. So, and the people that get into it are usually pretty curious and quirky individuals in their own right. So, and it was good to work alongside you earlier. You had a bit of a crash course on Wairarapa there and what was going on, and what did you think about your experience as a reporter?
Yeah, I found it pretty enjoyable, really. I mean, I had sort of railed against stuff for a few years before joining to work for them. But yeah, the opportunity was there, and I actually quite enjoyed. I think I enjoyed more the work in Wairarapa than. I mean, some of the work for the Dominion and the national website was enjoyable, but I found like the community stories were pretty cool, and getting involved and meeting people out here. And just being at the little newspaper office every day was pretty cool, yeah. And it was good. You get the sort of weird characters that would come in there, and yeah, it was enjoyable.
yeah. Well, obviously we don't have that office anymore, and I work from home, and we've got the Times Age rolling along. Seems to be doing pretty well. They've got
and that was who you worked for when you first started.
Yeah. And we've still got good friends out of that. And who are still in the Wairarapa. Some of my best friends actually were from that time at the Times Age, and hooning around in the little Times Age car with the photographer Linda Faringa, and getting to know what was going on. It was a baptism of fire in a way, but it's the best place.
That would have been fun, cruising around in the car after the stories.
Yeah,
Linda's pretty cool.
Free and easy, and just come back from overseas, and so it was good.
Jack actually told me a story about you had a radio show on Arrow back then, maybe.
Yeah. It was called Gonzo Journo, and had that for a while, which I really enjoyed.
Did Jack tell you about when you came to his school and the teacher introduced you as Piers Fuller? He has a radio show called Gorgo Juno.
I can't remember that. I do remember going to a school, and I can't even. I mean, Jack used to work alongside me. He never mentioned that I talked to his class. No,
he told me that. He always found it funny that the teacher introduced it as Gorgo instead of Gonzo.
Yeah. No, it was good fun. And it was probably a bit like your radio show earlier. You get to choose your topics and put your own music on, and anytime you get that kind of
have a bit of a rant. Yeah. I've been just trying to curb the rants a little. The other week I got a bit ranty about some political stuff, and you got to wonder if the listeners are engaging with it. But
I mean, there's so many platforms to have a rant these days, isn't there? You've been around as long as I have. You hear all these points of view, and you wonder where your own point of view kind of lands in the middle of all this stuff. But that's what keeps life interesting, I guess.
Yeah. So and so you're at the Times Age, and then when did you start working for stuff?
Well, we had
the Dominion. Sorry.
So at that point, it was Wairarapa News was owned by Fairfax, New Zealand, which was it was an Australian company, and Nick MacDonald was the editor of the Wairarapa News, and he it was tragically died of a brain aneurysm all of a sudden. So suddenly he was gone, and he was a great Wairarapa newspaper man, and his deputy was Walt Dixon, and so Walt stepped up into his shoes as the editor of the Wairarapa News, and he edited that for 12 years, I'm thinking 12 years. And me and Walt were the team there for years and years, sat in the same room.
So did they advertise a position and you took it up?
Yeah. I kind of thought, I have a look into it, and went over to see Walt and had a chat to him, and he said, "Yep, we're looking for someone," and it was good. It was a good gig, weekly deadline. A lot of it was advertising stuff, so you're carving it up between writing advertising copy and taking photos and writing news copy. So it was all part of the sort of the local media landscape. People seem to like us. But as you know, newspapers have got thinner on the ground these days.
I did hear from someone who shall remain nameless from within the Stuff organisation who said to me that there was a bit of a realisation after they'd closed a lot of the small papers that perhaps they shouldn't have closed them, but it came about a year too late.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm going to be perfectly honest here. Wairarapa News as a paper was fantastic. It did well. We knew all the numbers. We made a profit for almost the whole time that I was there, and that was largely thanks to the manager Lynette Juno, who was very passionate about the Wairarapa News, and she pushed us along, and we were a really successful paper in all kind of senses of the word. But and this happened during your time, Illya. They got more and more centralised to the point that you weren't making many of your own decisions in terms of editorial and advertising, and there was this cookie cutter approach, and they didn't let them get the advertising. They made it difficult, and therefore the revenue dropped away, and it would have been under some accountant's line somewhere where they cut it and they said, we're going to axe 25 papers and you were one of them.
Yeah.
And they shot themselves in the foot. And this was, it was a successful paper that I think would have continued to be successful if it remained more autonomous.
Yeah. No, I thought, I just remember where everyone was a bit shocked when we got the news, because even our bosses, in Wellington were like, oh, well, we weren't expecting this, guys.
But before that had happened, they dissolved the manager's role and they dissolved the editor's role. And I was kind of a de facto editor, but it wasn't the same role as it was a few years before that. And you weren't even allowed to deploy resources specifically for the Wairarapa News. It had to be kind of across the board and aiming for, stuff homepage. Well, a lot of the things you're doing for the Wairarapa News are never going to get on the Stuff homepage. So they didn't care. They didn't seem to care about the little papers, and hope that's changed, but I'm not really in that side of things anymore.
I did read an interesting story over lockdown. Well, not over lockdown. Maybe it was a few months ago. My father actually sent it to me. He lives in London, but he for some reason was reading some story about this guy in the States who actually during lockdown in America started a newspaper, and it just sort of took off because people were interested in reading a newspaper, and there wasn't one there anymore because it had been closed down because they thought people didn't want to read the newspaper, and then suddenly it's sort of taken off for them. So it's funny how, I think there's still an opening for that sort of thing because people don't mind, if there's a newspaper that's got local stories, things that interest them, then I think there's still an interest there. Eh? Which
definitely.
Is a funny thing.
And
that's why the Times Age is sort of still going so well, isn't it?
And the Times Age filled that role perfectly. I mean, before the Wairarapa News closed, there were 2 weeklies and 1 daily, and plus the regional daily, which was the Dominion Post, and so they all kind of, and then there was overlap there. And now that the Wairarapa News is gone, we've got the midweek in the Times Age, and if you look in the Times Age day to day, there's a lot of cool stuff about what's happening locally, but most of that stuff's not going to make it into the Dominion Post, and it's almost certainly not going to make it onto the front page of our digital page. So I've got to kind of roam around and try and sniff out what regionally people in Hawke's Bay, people in Wellington, people in Kapiti are going to want to see in the Dominion Post that's got that I can produce here. And then what's going to get on Stuff's homepage. And if it doesn't get in Stuff's homepage and it doesn't get in the Dominion Post, it kind of falls into the digital void and not many people get to see it. So I've got to be...
So then I suppose the only way you can is try and share it on the Stuff Wairarapa page.
Yeah, you can do that.
Yeah.
But that's Facebook, though. But we've moved away from Facebook, and kind of rightly so. That was another huge decision that our editors, our management made, was to shift away from Facebook, and that was kind of for moral reasons and also I think for commercial reasons as well. And we haven't gone back. It was always said that it's a trial and they could go back, but we haven't gone back. And I think that's another thing that sets us apart from other media organisations. Not that we don't use Facebook. As reporters, Facebook is a massive tool. You could not get away. You could not do your job as a reporter these days without using Facebook.
Yeah, well, you mentioned the midweek before, and I'd have to say, from what I saw when I first started with Wairarapa News in 2016 to now, they've really whipped that paper into shape, I think. It's actually a good little paper now for a midweek, sort of what it's aimed at doing, and then and Emily did a good job there, and now she's sort of...
And then they've had a few editors there, but they've all done well, and that's a great thing about the Times Age is you've got enthusiastic and a lot of new staff too, but a lot of older reporters as well that live here and they want to. So yeah, and things are always kind of in flux a little bit in newsrooms. I guess that's the industry, and it's the same with us. We're always getting new staff in and out. We've got a new editor at the moment, in Anna Fifield. She's not new anymore. She's been there for 6 or 7 months, but she's fantastic. She's an amazing news person. She's come from heading the Washington Post Beijing bureau, massive role. Imagine being in that position. So, and she's really concentrating on the Dominion Post and what.
A bit of an adjustment moving to Wellington from Beijing.
yeah, exactly. But she's really smart. Smart woman.
Oh, that's cool. And and so you're still sort of working away with Wairarapa News and doing a bit of. You had an injury last year, did you? Because I remember something happened when you were biking.
I broke my arm a year ago.
I was wondering about whether you were still mountain biking. Because you were pretty interested in that. Eh?
Really keen mountain biker. My son will tell you, my 14-year-old boy will tell you that I'm not very good. He would use any chance.
He's pretty good though, isn't he?
He's very good. In the space of a year, he's just left me behind totally in every different aspect of the mountain biking, from jumping to just fast downhills and that kind of stuff. So anyway, still love it, and it's a big part of our lives, biking. My wife is it's a tragic roadie. She's a road cyclist. She's actually on her bike right now. So love the mountain biking.
Have you guys been out to that new track? Is that still going?
Riven Rock?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when you did that story on Riven Rock. You went up there when they were just starting it out. We go there all the time.
Oh, really?
Great. So
shout out
to Riven Rock. It's open every weekend and Wednesdays in...
And they have a shuttle there, like a gold coin shuttle still?
No, it's not gold coin. It's like $5.
Oh, and they take you to the top.
Shuttles are generally $5 across the country.
They take you to the top?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
it's a steep climb.
I've got to get out there again. I've got to sort of get my bike serviced, and once my Achilles is better, I've sort of been hindered a little bit in the last few months from doing things that I like doing, especially playing football. But I was saying earlier, for those out there who are interested in college football, no, I won't mention it actually. It's probably a little bit embarrassing for one of the teams that participated. But my boys had an excellent win yesterday in a grading game, which was a bit of a mismatch really. And I told them we've got to send a message to these people who do the grading. So let's not let up. And
it's always
the score sort of blew out a bit. Yeah.
My son played football yesterday, and they managed to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory.
Oh, no.
They were up 3-0 when they lost 5-3.
Wow. Yeah. That's impressive from the other team,
That's
though.
impressive, yeah.
They sort of had that belief to keep going.
It was good. I quite like watching the football now.
Yeah, and the Phoenix played last night and had a resounding 3-0 win at home.
I watched some of that live on TV, which is I've never done before.
Yeah, cool. Oh yeah, so you're off to Wharikoho. You've got to head out there soon, don't you?
Yeah, pretty soon. Probably another 15 minutes.
Yeah.
It's cool down there. I mean, they have hosted presidents and princes and stuff like that. So it is. I've been down there before a few times. I interviewed the new chef, who has about a year or so ago was working for the King of Jordan.
Oh, yeah.
As his executive chef there, and that was pretty. He was working for him for 6 years. Now he's come to work for Wharikoho, but I've done lots of stuff with him in the past, and one of the more interesting experiences I had down there was as a judge in a cuisine competition, and it was gate to plate, where I had to go from 10 different restaurants in one day and judge the food. And luckily I was accompanied by 2 expert judges, because I'm no food expert, but as I'm part of the media, they wrote me in too. And
so you didn't have to physically go to 10
we'd
different...
go there, yep. So we went to the 10 places in one day.
Oh, wow.
So we'd get a meal dished out to us, and we'd split it up like they do on MasterChef.
Yeah.
And then we'd analyse it and judge it, and then move to the next one. So we had it was quite a day. But Wharikoho won that year, and it was Mark Soper, who's no longer the chef there.
Oh, yeah, I remember his name.
Yeah, he's now working for Union in Union Square in Martinborough.
Oh, okay.
He's a really interesting character, and he's pretty much won every bloody chef competition there is to win.
I'll always remember that photograph of the Secret Service guy on the beach. I think it was on the Dominion front page of the Dominion when I think it was Prince William was staying at Wharikoho.
Yeah, they never say who stayed and when.
Yeah.
But
I think there was speculation that he was there because there were all these guys with black military fatigues on and machine guns on the beach.
Apparently Clinton stayed there. So, I mean,
maybe it was that time.
That would have got the Secret Service out there.
Yeah.
I just found out yesterday that US presidents have Secret Service for life.
Yeah.
And Trump, since he's no longer president, they've spent $40,000 on accommodation at Mar-a-Lago for Secret Service.
Yeah. No, they do, yeah, because I think it's sort of that idea that imagine if a former president got assassinated.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably a bad look. Yeah. Regardless of what their public perception of them is. Yeah.
Like I say.
But, and so looking forward into the future, you think you're sort of going to carry on with working in the Wairarapa region?
Yeah, well, that's why I kind of stuck with the Wairarapa News for so long, because it was a gig I liked, but I wanted to live here. I wanted to be able to go and watch my kids' sport, and I didn't want to spend 3 or 4 hours on the train every day.
Yeah.
And it's like everybody, you make these compromises.
Yeah, I think it's really good if you can find a good job in Wairarapa, and a lot of people have realised it and held on to them, over the years. Yeah,
people go, well, is this the best place in the world to live? In the Wairarapa, I was born here. I was born in Marston Hospital, and I went to school down in Christchurch, high school, and then went overseas for years, like 10 or 12 years, and I could, you can choose where you live. If you've been overseas and you've lived in different countries, and you sort of think, and then I ended up back in Masterton, back in Wairarapa, living in the country, sending my kids to Gladstone School and getting involved in all the things that you do in the situation. And I can't think of a better situation, a better place to live in the world.
Yeah, and you've got family here as well.
No, my family's moved away. My dad had Fuller's Chemist here for years and years, for decades. He's now in Tauranga. My brothers are in Tauranga, Mount Maunganui, so I'm the last one on my immediate family.
Last one standing in the Wairarapa, holding the flag for the Fullers.
Yeah. Well, no, there's still plenty of Fullers around.
Oh, there's heaps of Fullers? Oh, that's good.
Cousins and uncles.
Yeah. No, there was a kid at Southend, and I think I actually, in a weird moment a few years ago, I was like, are you related to Piers Fuller? And he was like, no. Because he looked so much like one of your boys. I was like, that must be Piers' nephew, but it wasn't.
There is a I get it a bit, actually, people that think I look like somebody. And Illya, you're gonna tell them about how you featured in the news.
No, I think people are well aware of the compost incident. No, I just think one of the funniest things about that entire incident was that I was the one who phoned stuff.
Yeah, well, this was. Let me tell the story from a journalist's point of view. So this was one of the biggest stories of the year in Wairarapa. It's like, and the way that it gives you a sense of how these things kind of play out. So we get this call, and the police have put out a press release saying there is an incident at the Carterton School, and it looks like the reports that a plane has dropped something, and the kids at the school are sick, and hazmat response from fire and emergency has been called into place. They've cordoned it off, and we don't know how many kids are sick. Stuff falling from the sky. It sounded incredible, but as a journalist, all we've got is what the police have said, and we call the school, but the school won't say anything. We talk to parents, and so you go down there and you're standing on the cordon, and there are all these concerned parents, and there's just the emergency services response was massive. It was State Highway 2 was all blocked, and people, and I'm standing on the cordon trying to get bits and pieces either from parents or from staff members or whatever. And as it plays out throughout the afternoon, we're finding out actually there's not that many kids sick, and they're not that sick, and there's no confirmation that there was actually anything falling from the sky, coming from a plane, and I'm starting to think to myself as a few hours go by, this sounds a little bit like it's mass hysteria. Maybe something's happened and it's triggered things off a little bit, and it's certainly not as serious as it was made out. And by the end, it's like got dark, and it's like 6 o'clock, and it's cold, and I'm talking. They've taken the cordon down. The emergency services is mainly gone, and I'm talking to neighbours about the smell thing, and I'm thinking this sounds to me like it's mass hysteria. And then I'm driving home, and I get a call from my old mate Illya telling me he's got another theory. Yeah. And the theory was his manure had been dropped off from Parkvale and stunk out the place. And
the compost theory.
And then I went to police, and I went to emergency services about this the next day, and they said no. And then on Monday, they had a press conference at the school, and while he was saying these things, I'm standing there with a bunch of other reporters taking this down, and I know about Illya's thing, and I'd talked to my editor, and I said, I reckon this is on the money. I think it is actually this, because it didn't work out the times, but then they went back through the timings of everything, and then they worked out that it did, because you didn't know what time it had been dropped off, something like that. And then when I'll
tell you a funny thing about that was that on the day that it all happened, the police came over to have a look around because they were sort of worried about if there was some poison or something around. And I said to one of them, I think it might be that compost that got dropped off. And they were sort of like, oh, no, I don't think it'll be that. And, and then sure enough.
So during that press conference, I heard them talking about this, and I thought, oh, damn. And then I took off. I left everyone at the press conference and went straight round to your place. And I said, Illya, man, can I talk to you? And I was sending off videos to a newsroom from that spot so that I could. And then about half an hour later, the news, TV news turned up into the thing.
Yeah.
But that was one of the more.
It was hilarious. Yeah,
episodes.
I mean, the funny thing was all the people I knew who saw me on TV talking about it. It was good. And I got a few phone calls and messages. Hey man, I saw you on TV.
I have to say, Illya, these kind of things do tend to happen to you, probably more frequently than most people.
Yeah, it was good. It was pretty funny, really, and it's good. Like I still meet people now who've like, like a guy that I was working with on the Netflix thing the other month, one of my bosses said he was Googling compost. And he said, hey, I was Googling compost last night, and funny thing, you should appear. yeah, we had a good laugh about it. But, so I'm always there, if anyone, the compost man.
Yeah.
I was almost going to start some sort of compost blog for a while.
It's funny, I rang Parkvale
and
they were having none of it, eh? No, I went round there to talk to them.
Yeah, no, I got into, the guy actually was pretty angry about being associated with it, just because of the negative connotations. But I think he just got a bit worried because he did write all the stuff on Facebook for a while, and then I was sort of like, no, I mean, I don't think anyone's blaming you for this, man.
Yeah, so. but it's also the truth. I mean, it was them. It was their compost. It's like
but I mean,
it's not
you do say about the mass hysteria thing, though. It really was a case of that, and there was an interesting around the time of it happening. I read this really amazing article online about how the really similar thing happened in the United States. I don't know, maybe about 30 years ago, where almost like identical incident involving a school and so on, and they just and the people, they said that there was a phenomenon where the people actually got sick because they thought they were going to get sick.
Yeah.
And so all these people were exhibiting all these symptoms, but then they ended up investigating it for a couple of years afterwards, and they reasoned that because the people thought they were sick, they did get sick. And it's
I think with that school incident, you've got this smell that wafts across, and the kids are going, "Oh God, that's disgusting!" And then someone goes to the school office, says, "I feel sick," and then they go, "Oh, there's a whole bunch of kids that have responded to this smell," and then they would have got the kids all together and says, "Who feels sick?" And then half of them put their hands up, and then you've got 20 kids.
And there was gastro going around at the time as well.
And they don't know what's caused it, and then someone saw a plane going over, and maybe that's dropped something, and then that gets put into the narrative.
But I'll tell you one other thing that was going on at the time that contributed to, I think, the worry was that those 1080 protesters were quite prominent around Wairarapa at the time with the car and all that sort of stuff. So I think there was sort of a degree of anxiety around that sort of that thing. And then the kid mentioning the plane, even though someone actually went over the flight records, and found that there was no plane in the vicinity at any time during the day. Like there was one they said had flown like way over by the hills by the east coast, and that was the closest the plane was to the school during that morning. So it's just I found it to be quite a hilarious little episode, really.
So did I.
Yeah, it was good. And it was it was funny. The best interview actually was with Radio New Zealand, because they let me have a bit of a rant about it and about how I thought it was mass hysteria, and that got on the radio. And I think my friend actually sent it to me the other week because it's still available online.
I'll go listen to it.
Yeah. But you've got to hit the road.
Yeah, got to hit the road. And grab my family and hoon on down to the south coast. Hey, good to be part of your show, man. I'm happy to come back again.
Yeah, no, definitely. Next time we could talk a bit more about sort of, I don't know, some media stuff. And I like that. I like what you said the other day the post on Facebook about conspiracy theories. That'd be a good thing to talk about.
Yeah, and I mean, being part of the mainstream media, you're constantly being told by these idiots that you're part of this great collusion to hoodwink all the people, and it's like, do you know how organisations work? Do you know how committees, how all these? You can't, people aren't that good at organising things. It doesn't matter who they are or where they are, and I'm not in it. And it's frankly insulting to tell me that I am.
Yeah, well, the one thing that I always find is quite funny is how people talk about the moon hoax, and they say, "Oh no, that was definitely a hoax," and then you're like, "Well, so you're telling me that the Russians and the US agreed?" Like, so the Russians confirmed that the US landed on the moon. Like they actually admitted it, and it was in the worldwide media. So why would they do that? Why would they say, "Oh no, the US landed on the moon. They beat us"?
Oh, there's a bunch of reasons.
It's just a bizarre. That's an absolutely bizarre theory that was a hoax. It's like, and it's sort of one thing that I find it quite insulting to the whole sort of idea of the capacity of the human race.
Exactly.
Because people are like, "Oh no, that they couldn't have done that. That's impossible."
But this is my theory on the moon landing hoax thing. Is the obvious way to prove that it actually happened is that they built all the technology, and we've got all the records of building all this technology to do it, and it did it. It's not like why would you ever go to work out all the maths, all the engineering that could and did do it? Why would you do that and not do it?
Yeah.
I mean, it just makes no sense.
I just find that's what you mentioned before, the collusion thing between governments. So all these governments who were, they weren't getting along. Like, and then people are saying that they sort of colluded to, trick people that the US had landed on the moon. It's like, maybe you could believe that idea if it was like the United Nations landing on the moon, but it wasn't.
The way that I treat a lot of this stuff, though, is not truth and untruth. It's the probabilities. It's probabilities of truth and untruth. You never know for certain. I mean,
I agree.
So what you've got to do is you've got to lean on probabilities, and the probabilities for most of these things are so low they're verging on nil, and they don't even apply with general logic. No, the general reasoning of why someone would do it, let alone stacking it all up and making all of those things fit together perfectly. They can't give you that stuff. And so the probability that theory is right is extremely low, and therefore you go with the one that's what you trust, and it's not those far out theories.
I think the problem with conspiracies these days is that there's been a fair number of them that have actually been found to be true,
and I think it's important.
And that throws a bit of a.
Well, I think it's important to talk about true conspiracies, things that actually happen. Conspiracies of white people in New Zealand to undermine the Māori race. That was real. Take their land and basically a lot of people hoping that they would literally die out. That was a conspiracy that actually happened.
There's also, have you heard about the Charles Manson thing? There's a book called about the Charles Manson murders. Manson murders book. Who was it by? Chaos: The Truth Behind the Manson Murders. You should look it up. I got the audio book. It just talks about how. Well, it's a really, really interesting story about what happened there with the CIA experimenting on people with LSD, and Manson was actually like everything points toward him being looked after by the CIA and gotten out of jail all these times and given all this really strong LSD to use it on people and basically. Mind control, sort of brainwashing people through his, and they even think he was taught how to speak and do all these things. It's a really, really cool book.
That's what it was, really, wasn't it?
And they say that, and that's the reason basically that those people ended up dying that night and being murdered is because of it all came back into this weird sort of espionage thing at the time with the American military. experimenting on people with LSD and what they could achieve through the use of it. Well, it's an amazing
I'll have
book.
to look it up, man.
Well,
hey, I'll be more than happy to come on again, and thanks for inviting me. And
no worries, man. Have a good day out at Wharekoho.
Will do. And and you have a good day in Cartertron.
Yeah, I'll chuck a song on. So you had a song that you wanted to suggest? I'll chuck it on.
There were three there, but let's go with Summer's End by John Prine.
Summer's End, John Prine. Okay, man, cool. I'll chuck that on. All right, so thanks for listening, everyone. I'll be back after the music with a bit more of the show, and then Indira will be on to talk about what's going on in her life and at Kuranui College and so on. But in the meantime, we're on Spare A with some music. All right, cool. Here we go.
Awesome. Okay.
Summer's ends around the bend just flying. The swimming suits are on the line just drying. I'll meet you there for our conversation. I hope I didn't ruin your whole vacation. Well, you never know how far from home you're feeling until you've watched the shadows cross the ceiling. Well, I don't know, but I can see it snowing. In your car, the windows are wide open. Just come on home. Come on home. No, you don't have to be alone. Just come on home. Valentines break hearts and minds at random. That old Easter egg ain't got a leg to stand on. Well, I can see that you can't win for trying. And New Year's Eve is bound to leave you crying. Come on home. Come on home. No, you don't have to be alone. Just come on home. The moon and stars hang out in bars just talking. I still love that picture of us walking, just like that old house we thought was haunted. Summer's end came faster than we wanted. Come on home. Come on home. No, you don't have to be alone. Come on home. Come on home. You don't have to be alone. Just come on home.
Oh, that's a nice number. John Prine. Summer's End. Good having Piers in the studio. Good to catch up with him. He was my boss out at Wairarapa News there when we were still putting out the little weekly paper. And, we had some good times. Jack Barlow was our colleague there. I'm hopefully might get Jack into the studio and his lovely partner Rachel in a couple of weeks when they're through here. I think maybe next weekend they might be here. So I'm hoping to get them in the studio, maybe they could do a song. They're pretty good, a musical duo, and also interesting people to talk to. But I haven't even actually asked them that yet. But maybe I'll see how it goes. So it's been a good week in Wairarapa. We've been working away on our house, renovating and so on, and the Gammy Achilles is slowly getting better. The Kuranui First 11 is doing pretty well. The boys are responding to coaching, and a number of them are involved with several different footballing ventures, and so to speak, with Wairarapa Development, Wairarapa United, Featherston Football Club, so they're pretty heavily involved in the football, and it's good to see. The technical level of junior footballers in New Zealand, I think, is in a really good place, probably better than it's been in, well, obviously in New Zealand history, really. Coaching is at an all-time sort of level, and you can see it in the ability of the boys coming through, and girls as well, which is good. It's the New Zealand national teams are actually at a really good level as well. The women's team and the men's team, sort of with players representing high-profile clubs around the world. The future is bright for football. And the team I coach had a good win yesterday. It probably blew out a bit, the score in the end, because the team they were matched up against in the grading game was probably not of sufficient quality, in that it looked like they had a few guys who had been, had a football background, and they had a few guys who sort of probably didn't really have so much of a footballing background. Technically, they were not quite there, and I sort of, perhaps it's a little bit hard. No, it wasn't. It was just I got the boys to just stick to our structure and game plan, ball speed, movement, and the score did blow out a bit to a sort of a rugby score, but these things happen, and it's just the regular season starts, I think, next weekend, so we'll hopefully be matched against opposition, more fitting opposition. So other than that, I think Wairarapa has been a good place to be over the last few weeks. The sort of winter is starting, which is always sort of, it can be challenging in some ways, but if you've got heating or a nice warm blanket and some warm clothes, you're generally all right. Maybe I've got a boil up on the stove actually today, which I'm quite looking forward to eating at the end of the day. Watercress and pork bones. Shout out to Solway Butchers, who do probably what I think are the best pork bones I've seen in Wairarapa. With the pork's been obviously cut away, but they leave a generous amount on there, and you chuck it in with your watercress and a few potatoes, and you're away laughing. One of my favourite meals. Me and Mum and my little brother and sister used to go out and get watercress out the back of Havelock North when I was a kid, from a creek that I think Mum used to get watercress when she was a kid. So, and then I actually took my daughter Astrid down yesterday, the 4-year-old, to come and keep an eye on things while I got the watercress out of the creek, and she enjoyed it. And it's good to sort of do those things with the younger generation and give them a bit of an experience in, hunting and gathering. And I know I do have friends who take their kids out hunting, which is, I think that's great. And, there's still a place for that in our modern technological society, where people can go out into the bush and, procure an animal and butcher it, chop it up, and eat it. And it's something that we've done for, how long now? 10,000 years, apparently, human civilization. And before that they were hunting, They were hunting mammoths, weren't they? Bit of mammoth. Maybe some sort of large lizard, perhaps. I'm going to put a song on now that I was listening to the other day, and I thought, man, this is a good song. And I think you guys are going to enjoy it, whoever is listening out there. It's called, it's by a New Zealand artist who I think is extremely underrated considering his abilities. When you look at the likes of, say, that band with the number, what are they called again? 660, that's right. Quite popular, very popular derivative sound. They've got a good singer, I think. He does have a lovely voice, but that's where it all sort of tapers off a bit in the music department. But then you look at a guy like Troy Kingi, who he's sort of on another level, but he ends up supporting 660, which I can't really work out, but that's the way the New Zealand music industry is currently. So here's Troy Kingi with Grandma's Rocket Poem, a song that he released, I think in 2018 this album came out, or maybe 2017. Very good album. If you haven't heard it, it's called Shake That Skinny Ass All the Way to Zygatron. And if you haven't heard it, here's a song from it, and it's an excellent album. One of the best New Zealand releases, I think, of the last 20 years, easily. So here it is. Without further ado, Troy Kingi with Grandma's Rocket Poem.
The sun set in the west. But what of the 12 suns? We live on their small exits and also in the plethora of platforms. These black marks avoid us to hold the keys. Up there lives beauty beyond all comprehension, but also destruction. When your time on earth come to an end, only then will you see we are the Creator. We are one in the same. Go forth, exist, my child.
Dear child, I wanna tell you about a trip I had. Way back when I met this guy in outer space. Took me to the corner of the universe. Blew my mind when I saw my creator's face. Wanna put your handset down and turn your attention upwards. You're nothing but an electron child, just waiting for release. Grandma's rocket poem, a cautionary tale, but it's more about a fool I've led. She walked into a portal to the cosmos. Rocket poem, runs around Saturn, jump ship when you get to the fifth dimension. A real life Jane Jackson, Grandma's rocket poem. Young once, I used to hunt in the woods. Under the precipice is where I found my glowing door. Shot through the threads of space and time. My poor mother's embrace, I'm not gonna feel no more. For an ocean up there in the darkness. Grandma's rocket pole. Of course you never tell, but it's more about a fool I've lived. She walked into a portal to the cosmos, rocket falling. Run rings around Saturn, jump ship when you get to the fifth dimension. A real life James Jetson. Grandma's rocket pole.
Yeah, so that was Troy Kingy with Grandma's Rocket Poem. Good track. So Indira is here in the studio. Hey, mate, how's it going?
Good.
What's happening? What's happening in the world of Indira?
Well, we have had a good week of school. Mr. Filler is actually on, what do you call it, maternity leave?
Sabbatical.
Well, not really. Like, he's on this thing because if teachers are teaching for more than 5 years, they get to go on this thing. He was going to do it last year, but he's doing it this year. And he's going to be away for, I think, about 2 months. And we're going to have Mrs. Patton as our principal, which...
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, we're on the radio.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, so Mrs. Patton is the principal, yeah.
Yeah. And so Mr. Fuller's going to be gone for a while.
Yeah, cool. So there's going to be a bit of a shake-up, bit of a shake and bake. And what else has been happening, mate? You've got a song that you wanted to play?
Yes.
Yep. What is it?
It is Beautiful Mistakes by Megan Thee Stallion, and
is it? It's
no,
not.
It doesn't.
It doesn't have swearing or something.
Nope, no swearing.
Okay, it sounds Megan Thee Stallion.
Maroon 5 and Megan Thee Stallion.
Beautiful Mistakes. Okay. Featuring Maroon 5, a big band that were very popular a few years ago.
Megan Thee Stallion.
Oh, it's Maroon 5 featuring Megan Thee Stallion. Okay. Yep. Maroon 5 are like America's, they're a big band. Yeah, people. We'll see how the song goes, mate. Do you want me to chuck it on? Is it a shout out to your friends who won't be listening to Arrow? Do you want me to chuck that song on?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, here we go. Without any more dilly-dallying, we'll put on this song. This is Indira's choice for today of music, Beautiful Mistakes by Maroon 5 featuring Megan Thee Stallion. Here it is.
It's beautiful, it's bittersweet. You're like a broken home to me. I take a shot of memories and black out like an empty street. I fill my days with the way you walk and fill my beautiful. I can't believe how every day gets worse for me. I take a break, I cut you off to keep myself from looking soft. I fill my nights with the way you was and still wake up with broken dreams. I make these lies inside my head feel like they're my reality. Now I'm not holding on, not holding on. I'm just depressed that you're gone. Not holding on, not holding on. Beautiful mistakes I make inside my head. She's naked in my bed, and now we lie awake, making beautiful mistakes. I wouldn't take them back. I'm in love with the past, and now we lie awake, making beautiful mistakes. Na na na, in my head. Na na na, in my bed. Na na na, making beautiful mistakes.
You did me wrong cause I let you. Usually I like my situations beneficial. Doing something different got me looking stupid. The only way I'm coming back to you is if you're dreaming. Lucid, prove it. If you made a promise, then keep it. Why you wanna lie and then get mad? I don't believe it. But really I was doing just fine without you. Looking fine, sipping wine, dancing on club couches. Baby, why you wanna lose me like you don't need me? Like I don't block you and you still try to reach me. How you figure out how to call me from the TV? You running out of chances and this time I mean it. Yeah, bet you miss my love all in your bed. Now you're stressing out, pulling your hair, smelling your pillows and wishing I was there. Sliding down the shower wall, looking sad. I know it's hard to let go, I'm the best. Best you ever had and best you gon' get. And if we break up, I don't wanna be friends. You're toxic.
Beautiful mistakes I make inside my head. She's naked in my bed, and now we lie awake, making beautiful mistakes. I wouldn't take them back. I'm in love with the past, and now we lie awake, making beautiful mistakes.
Well, that was great. Not my choice of music, to be honest, but it's good that you like that one, mate.
Yeah.
So
And it's a Megan Thee Stallion song that doesn't have swearing in it.
that's good. That's always a bonus. Yeah. Right. So what else has been happening, mate?
Well, not much. Just it's getting chilly into winter.
You've been preoccupied with Instagram for the last hour when I said to you, hey, mate, when you come in on to talk on the show, can you make sure you have something to talk about? And then it appears that apparently that didn't happen. You got consumed by Instagram?
No, well, I'm actually very excited because I'm getting some photos printed out
Oh, yeah, cool. Some photos.
From the wall.
Yep.
And it's just cool because I want to put them around my wall with some blue tack, but my mum won't let me, so that's...
Well, the best way to get around that is to get a piece of paper and stick the photos to it, or a piece of cardboard actually, and then you attach string to the cardboard, and then you just put one pin in the wall, and that's easy to fix.
Yeah, but like it just ruins it because it's like not the look. It has to just be...
Yeah, but the blue tack will rip the paint off the wall, mate.
But I'm not going to take them off. That's the thing.
So you're going to live in that room forever?
Yeah.
Until you die when you're like 100. Okay. Oh, cool. That's good.
Well, we're getting some blue tack. End of story, okay?
Oh, end of story, really, mate?
Oh, and I also want to get some... Oh, and I'm going to paint my alarm clock with cow print.
Oh, okay, cool. Right, I might chuck a song on now. We haven't had much music today. I've got a good one here by a band called Peace Orchestra. Well, they're not really a band. They're a group. DJs. Well, actually, maybe they were a band. No, I don't think they were. But anyway, this is a good number. It's it's an instrumental piece, and I think everyone's going to enjoy it. It's called Domination, which is an interesting name for this piece of music. But It's a good one for your Sunday morning coming up to 12 midday. I'm looking forward to going out to lunch at a friend's house. I hope everyone else has got things planned that are interesting and good. Or maybe you're just wrapping up nice and warm, watching a nice movie with a hot cuppa or a hot cup of soup. Maybe a nice cooked lunch, maybe a roast lunch. Who knows? Or maybe you're out and about. Maybe you're out duck shooting. I don't know if it's duck shooting season, but I think it was. Or is it finished? But yeah, here is Peace Orchestra with Domination. It's actually the Guillaume... say this guy's name, Guillaume Boulard mix of this track. It's a remix, good remix. goodie, that one. Domination, Guillaume Bollard mix, Peace Orchestra. Yeah, so that's almost the show for today, folks. Have you got anything you want to say to the listeners out there, Indira?
Have a good Sunday and enjoy yourself before you go back to work or school or whatever you're doing.
Yeah, good idea. Oops, I think I just offed there. We'll have one more music to take things out. One more bit of music. The camera's making a noise. We might play a song that we've already played this year. No, we won't. Oh man, it's awfully tempting to play this song, but I mean, is it Sunday morning music or is it Saturday music? But then, I mean, what really is music for what day? This is a good one. This is a short one. I'll chuck this on. This is from a movie that I really enjoy called... oh man, what the hell is that movie called? It's by Wes Anderson. It's about a train going through India. 3 brothers. Good one. I'll remember what it's called in a moment. I'll put the track on. It's a theme from the Darjeeling Limited, and it's only 1 minute long, so here it is. If you haven't seen the Darjeeling Limited, I'd recommend checking it out. Wes Anderson is a talented filmmaker, and the actors he casts are top notch. That's a goodie. I like that one. Yeah, and to end things today, we might play a song that I've always enjoyed. Bit of a low-key number for a Sunday day. Perhaps maybe a song that people would have heard. I don't know if it's on the radio very often. I think it's on... no, actually, yeah, we won't go with that because it probably is on the radio. But actually, I mean, it's coming up to midday, so we can jazz things up a bit with a bit of Jane's Addiction. So we're going to go with a song from their album that came out in the, I think, mid-90s called Ritual de la Habitual. And it's called Stop. And... it's a goodie. Here it is, Jane's Addiction.
Nosotros tenemos más influencia.
Have a great Sunday, everyone. Be back next week with another interview.
Pero los queremos. Creado y regado de Los Ángeles. Juana's Adicción.
That's it. That's the show for today. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back next week. I'm hoping I'll have a good interview with... I'll tee it up. And, have a great Sunday, everyone, and a great week. And, focus on your goals. And, take it easy. All right. Bye.
I was so keen to hold you.